Had a few gripes on this sub since my mother has been acting up, but she seems to be getting worse rather than better. All started off last August when me and my girlfriend discovered we were having a baby. Mom was excited, but as months went on, she was just constantly firing name ideas towards me. Any that I didn't like, she'd argue and question why. Then, when we found a name we liked and she didn't, it sparked issues. Our son then came 6 weeks early in March. My girlfriend and our son were nearly on their deathbeds due to complications. My mother felt so entitled, she felt it was appropriate to start causing arguments with me over telling her she wasn't allowed to the hospital due to restrictions, and she was fuming my mother-in-law was there, and she couldn't be. She spent weeks trying to cause an argument with my girlfriend, kept accusing my girlfriend of snapping at her when she hadn't been, started accusing my mother-in-law of being a thief over some baby clothes she'd bought our baby because it was from an expensive shop. Had a massive argument with her a month or two ago where I told her I wanted her to go to the doctors and get some help because I think she's either menopausal, depressed, or even starting with dementia. She's been behaving absolutely deluded. She apologized to me and my girlfriend and even bought her a bunch of flowers. My mother never apologizes, so I really thought she meant it. But over the last few weeks, she's started again. Went funny with me a week ago because my girlfriend has been offered redundancy in her job and she's accepted it. She hates her job and has wanted this for years. We're in a good place financially at the minute. But we think Mum is fuming because she wants my girlfriend to go back to work after maternity leave so she can have our son all of the time. As much as we want him to have a good relationship with his grandma, we don't want this all of the time. She was then fuming last weekend as my girlfriend was carrying him in a carrier and didn't let my mum have a cuddle straight away. And then he was poorly a couple of nights ago and we managed to get him to an out-of-hours doctor's appointment just after midnight. We were exhausted and so took him to the appointment. He got given the all clear. We came home, got a wash, and went straight to bed. Mom came to visit yesterday evening where we told her. She then decided to go home, message me, and start an argument that we hadn't told her sooner. I wish she would just leave us to be parents. Stop taking everything personally and taking things out on us. We're exhausted without already feeling like we're walking on eggshells with her. I decided to visit the local park. The pleasant weather and the promise of a peaceful day outdoors enticed me to grab a book and head out for some relaxation. Little did I know that this seemingly ordinary outing would turn into a bizarre encounter with an entitled individual. As I settled down on a bench beneath the shade of a tall oak tree, I noticed a commotion nearby. Curiosity got the better of me, and I glanced in that direction. A man, towering over everyone else, was berating a family for daring to sit at his picnic table. I couldn't help but be intrigued by his audacity. Before I delve into this extraordinary encounter, let me provide some insight into my own life. My name is Alex, a middle-aged artist who values kindness, fairness, and respect for others. I had grown up in a modest neighborhood, and my parents instilled in me the importance of treating everyone with empathy and understanding. Being an artist, I found solace in expressing my emotions through colors and shapes on canvas. It was a cathartic outlet for me and a way to connect with the world. I believed that art had the power to bridge gaps and bring people together. As I observed the unfolding scene at the park, the man's relentless tirade against the family grew louder. Determined to diffuse the tension, I decided to intervene and attempt to reason with the entitled individual. "Excuse me, sir," I said calmly, approaching him with caution. "This park belongs to everyone, and it's meant to be enjoyed by all. It's not fair to claim exclusive ownership of a picnic table." He turned his piercing gaze toward me, sizing me up with contempt. "Who are you to tell me what's fair? I've been coming to this park for years, and I've always had this table. Mind your own business." I took a deep breath, refusing to let his hostility deter me. I understand that you have your preferences, but monopolizing a public space is not respectful. There are other empty tables available. It would be more considerate to share. His face flushed with anger as he clenched his fists. "How dare you lecture me? I demand respect. I've earned it." Despite his belligerence, I remained composed. Respect is something earned through actions, not demanded through entitlement. Your behavior here is causing distress to others, and it's not acceptable. The entitled man's rage escalated as he unleashed a torrent of insults towards me. He attempted to intimidate me by invading my personal space, but I stood my ground, refusing to back down. In an attempt to defuse the situation, a park ranger arrived, called by someone who had witnessed the commotion. The ranger, named Officer Johnson, assessed the situation and approached us with a calm yet authoritative demeanor. "What seems to be the problem here?" Officer Johnson asked, his eyes shifting between the enraged man and me. "This person," the entitled man sneered, pointing at me, "is trying to steal my table. I've always had it, and he needs to leave." Officer Johnson listened attentively to both sides, his expression neutral. He then turned to me and asked, "Is this true?" I explained the situation, emphasizing the importance of fairness and communal use of public spaces. Officer Johnson nodded, understanding the gravity of the matter. He then addressed the entitled man, reminding him that the park was for everyone to enjoy, and he couldn't claim ownership over any specific area. Frustration boiled over the entitled man's face as he failed to gain the support he desired. Enraged by his inability to control the situation, he suddenly lunged towards me, attempting to physically assault me. Instinctively, I stepped back, evading his attack. With my background in martial arts, I knew that physical confrontation was a last resort. Instead, I focused on defensive maneuvers, using his aggression against him. With a swift movement, I skillfully redirected his momentum, causing him to lose balance and tumble to the ground. The entitled man was left sprawled on his back, disoriented and humiliated. The parkgoers gasped in surprise, and some even chuckled at the sudden turn of events. Officer Johnson, having witnessed the man's aggressive behavior, promptly called for backup and detained him. It became evident that his sense of entitlement had far surpassed acceptable limits, leading to his downfall. As the entitled man was handcuffed and escorted away, the park regained its calmness. The family he had initially berated approached me, expressing their gratitude for standing up to him. They shared how his behavior had left them feeling humiliated and unwelcome. We engaged in a heartfelt conversation, discussing the importance of speaking out against entitlement and the significance of fostering a sense of community. Through this incident, we discovered a shared belief in the power of kindness and compassion to counteract entitled attitudes. In the end, the entitled man faced the consequences of his actions. His arrest served as a lesson to others about the repercussions of crossing the line between confidence and entitlement. The incident also reinforced the significance of standing up for what is right, even in the face of aggression. As I left the park that day, I couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. The encounter had not only reaffirmed my own values, but also reminded me of the importance of empathy and respect in our interactions with others. I carried that newfound determination forward, continuing to make a positive impact within my community, one encounter at a time. All right then, so a bit of backstory on yours truly. I've been working bar security, aka a bouncer, at the same bar for about 3 years. If you ever want to know what it's like to be a bouncer, think daycare, but at night, and instead of small children, it's adults who revert to children when intoxicated or even when not intoxicated. Anywho, this night is much like any other night. There is a popular local band playing, so we've got a decent crowd going. The team is keeping their eyes open for anyone passed out, being belligerent, drugs, the works. I'm standing by the door to the bar area of the building. The way this place works is it's basically cut in half, with one half being a pool hall and the other a bar entertainment area separated by a wall with a door on either end. I stand by this door a lot because I can easily keep track of both rooms at the same time without needing to really walk all around the place. So, there's a gentleman sitting near the door where I'm at, and there's a couple sitting at the bar across the way. The female is well known for acting out when she's drunk. From what we could see on the cameras inside, She walks over to the gentleman by the door and starts trying to talk with him. This guy has come into the bar for years and never has he raised a hand to anyone for any reason. He's a professionally trained boxer, doesn't drink, and doesn't generally close out the bars. He rejects her advances, and she becomes noticeably upset. She proceeds to run over to her man and tell him that this guy has disrespected her and called her names. The gentleman ushers her man over and kindly asks him to make this woman leave him alone. Before the conversation starts, though, the husband grabs this guy by the collar and starts driving him towards the wall. Well, chaos ensues as they didn't realize that he came with his 20 friends. He threw a couple of jabs at the husband, and the woman took a few too by mistake since she decided she wanted to step in this brawl. Welp. The dude punches her so hard he literally folds her bottom row of teeth back into her mouth. This all happens in the span of about 10 seconds, so the security team jumps in and gets everyone separated. The husband and wife get taken outside, but we haven't called the cops because generally that's a last resort, so we're outside. This lady is bleeding from her mouth and the husband is visibly angry. She keeps asking me to call the cops, but I keep telling her that's a bad idea considering the husband put his hands on the guy first, but she's not having it. So I called the police. I can't describe how difficult it was not to laugh in this lady's face as she witnessed the cops put her husband in handcuffs and not the guy who punched her. She said something that I'll never forget, and I wish I had it on recording. This is why we don't call the cops. I very nonchalantly reminded her that it was her idea to call the police in the first place. Didn't see them again until about a year later. She had to get her whole bottom row of front teeth pretty much fixed and still hasn't changed in the slightest. What a night. Edit. When I said the boxer doesn't drink, I meant that he doesn't drink to the point of passing out or throwing up. He'll have a couple of beers here and there, but that's it. My perception of the drinker has expanded quite a bit when I started seeing just how much someone will pour down their throat in the span of a couple of hours. I work at a restaurant as a hostess, and we have both inside and outside seating. We do allow dogs outside, but not inside. This is relevant, I promise. So this lady today came inside to get seated with her dog and kid, and so I put them outside. A little ways into her meal, she waves at me to come out to her table through the window. I go outside, and she says my son needs to go to the restroom, but he can't go by himself, and I can't take the dog inside. Can you take him to the toilet? This is where I start to get confused because her son appears to be around 7 years old and completely normally functioning, so I can't understand why he would need my help. Or why she would think I would be able or qualified to help him if he did need some type of assistance. So I tell her that I can't take him to the toilet because as a girl I can't go into the men's room, but I would watch her dog if she wants to go with him. She then tells me that she doesn't feel comfortable having me watch the dog because the dog is a French bulldog, and if someone tried to steal it, I probably wouldn't fight back. She's right. I would let someone steal the dog. I don't get paid enough to stop them, but it's a nice area, so this is incredibly unlikely. But more importantly, she would trust me to take her child to the bathroom, but not let me watch her dog. Priorities, lady. I tell her that it's not something I feel comfortable doing, and she then asks for the manager. I get her the manager, and she tells the manager about the situation and that I am not providing her with good service and going above and beyond. The manager, dude, then actually winds up taking the kid to the toilet. The manager said the kid did everything normally and just seemed uncomfortable to be supervised using the bathroom in front of a complete stranger. He also said it was completely fine to refuse that request. No real moral to the story other than that people are crazy.